In this video, I'm going to show you how I quickly and easily updated my architecture portfolio using a new AI software that I found online totally for free. It's pretty incredible, actually. So if you're an architect or you're a designer, maybe you're an architecture student, I'm sure you've had this similar problem. You know, you have some half-finished projects that are sketched out, you have some loose drawings, maybe a rendering or something, but it's not good enough to put in your portfolio. Like the images just aren't, they're not polished enough. They're not finished. So what you can do is use this new software, upload it, and really quickly, really easily just pump out some high quality images that you can add to your portfolio right away. This new AI software really, changes the game. This is one right here. This is an image that came out of the software in, just a matter of seconds, totally for free. And I'll show you how you can do it. If you stick around to the end, we'll do a couple live. And I'll show you exactly how it works. I took a couple photos of some sketches just a minute ago. So let's get right into it. So first things first, I was trying to update my portfolio. This is how it all started. Just turn myself off here for a second. This is my online portfolio, and you can see here's that image actually that I just uploaded a couple weeks ago. This is another one over here. There's a couple other ones. This one right here is an image that we're going to test here in a minute. And then there's some other things in here, and this is, I'm pretty happy with this. There's some projects in here that were half finished with a loose sketch, and you can see, here's a loose sketch right here. Compare that to that image we just looked at right here. Look how nice that looks, right? For free, you pump that out. It's actually a quality image that you can be proud of and really show off to a potential employer or a client, something like that. So let's get right into it. So my name is Ryan Schwartz. I'm an architect, and this channel is really dedicated to architecture and design, trying to debunk some things and explain what's happening and just trying to educate people about architecture. So we'll get it right into it here. I was updating this portfolio, and I tested out quite a few softwares. So now you don't have to. I kind of did the legwork for you. This is the one that I found that I really like, and it's called Visoid. I'm not affiliated, not sponsored by any means. I have nothing to do with these guys, but I did test out quite a few, and this is the one that I really liked the best, and I got quite a few images out of it for free. I got like 10 or 12 or 15 images, and I didn't have to pay $1. Of course, you can, get into a paid version. You can really dive into it. You can do 3D walkarounds and videos and really get into the details if you want. But if you just need a free software to pump out a few images and really upgrade some of your projects, some of your unfinished work, then this is a fantastic tool. So check it out, visoid.com. I'll throw a link to that down below so you can check it out. I'll throw a link into my portfolio there too if you want to have a look at that. I'll link down to that below if you're interested as well. So, but let's look at this tool here. So here you can see this is one of the images that I was really happy with. And you can see it's just a super loose sketch. This was a concept for an electric vehicle charging station. I had a couple sketches. This was my favorite of the bunch. And then you throw in the prompt, and I will say the AI software here does a really good job of kind of guiding you with the prompts. It's pretty impressive. Compare that image now to this with like minimal work. This is what it came out with, and that's super impressive. Like I'm happy to show this off on my portfolio, and it really kind of explains the concept that I was going for in like almost perfect detail. It took that sketch and really, straight away, like straight out of the software, pumped out a really nice looking image. So we'll go through a couple here, and I'll show you what I worked on before. So this is one, we talked about this one. I'm just going to zoom out here. So there's a couple that I did previously here, just to show you, give you a sense of like what the software can do. Here's a very basic rendering of a 3D model I had in Rhino, pumped out a rendering. This is from like years ago. I did this in V-Ray, and I said a couple prompts, took me a few tries, and this is what it came out with. And there was, at a glance, it looks great. There was a couple little issues here, like these lights don't really line up. There's an extra one. It seemed to put in, it took the house number off and threw in an extra light. But with a quick little Photoshop job, look how good that looks. This is like a little cabin out in the prairie, a little house on the prairie, and pretty convincing. Like I would say, obviously it's a rendering. There's no driveway or anything. It looks a little too dreamlike, maybe. But in terms of presentation images, like this is much better than just this black and white image. So it just conveys a lot more. Here's the same project from another angle. Wanted kind of a different mood, so we went with like dusk, the sun's just going down, super moody. This one looks a little more realistic, I think, with the background. You have a little bit of grass there in the foreground, so looking pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with that. Here's another one for a little competition entry. This is a rendering that I did. So this was this portion right here, I modeled in 3D, and then in the background, like everything sort of back here, everything outside this circle, I guess, basically came from an image, did a little Photoshop, mix and match. Honestly, I was happy with this, but as a test, I'm like, all right, this is on a frozen lake. We want people skiing by. Pretty solid. Like this is way faster than me going into Photoshop, adding people, messing around, and it added a little bit of detail too, like the snow collecting on the slats with little openings. Like this did a really nice job. I was pretty happy with that. Here's another winter one. So this was another competition for like a little pavilion in Toronto. The idea was all these little 2x2s, these wooden pieces of lumber vertically connected in a circle that are kind of undulating and going up and down. Tough to, model that. It took me forever. We won't get into that, but and you can see there is a little person in the background if I can zoom in there. And I think the rendering that I actually put into the software had this little clay person in red, and this is what it pumped out. And I'm really happy with the outlook, the output, aside from this person. Obviously, I don't love that there's like a red kind of like army figure in there, like those little plastic army figures from when you're a kid. That's kind of what it looks like. But again, a little bit of Photoshop. You just throw someone in there instead. Not super realistic, but just the fact that look at the detail. It put the snow, like wind-blown snow, kind of sticking to the base of this thing around the bottom. A little bit of snow on the tops of all these 2x2s. It actually added some knots and stuff to the wood. Looks like little 2x2 pieces of pine. It did a great job with the winter weather. You have the lake in the background. Snow is blowing through the air. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. That would take me forever in Photoshop trying to add the snow to those. Just be a nightmare. We talked about this one. All I put in was this sketch, and it came out with this. I gave it a little prompt, said, hey, put up beside a highway. It's an electric vehicle charging station. Give it some wood slat exterior elements. It did a great job. I think maybe I said in autumn or fall, and it just gave a little bit of color to those trees, but if you overlay those, it took the perspective and did a really fantastic job. It's pretty impressive. These two down here, a little bit less happy with these, but I think they're a little trickier. This one was kind of like a little, it's like a converted chicken coop. It was supposed to be like a little backyard retreat for my cousin. Again, this is from years and years ago. And I had this sort of half-baked rendering of this project, which I like the project. It's kind of cool, but I didn't really have any good images to show it off, right? So I said, hey, give me something, it's surrounded by trees, it's in a clearing, and it did, again, a pretty solid job. The perspective is maybe a little funny, but it basically took the perspective I gave it. It's maybe a little bit warped. It's kind of a drone view, but, it did a pretty solid job considering. And this last one was another little competition entry. It was sort of like a little pavilion for a park where you can get out of the sun, you get into the shade, and I wanted to, it had some vegetation growing in it. And again, this one, the perspective's a little off. It looks a little bigger maybe than it should. But overall, like, again, to do that work in Photoshop it would take me hours, and it did this in a matter of minutes. So those are some really good examples of what it can pump out in, a pretty short order. So let's give it a test, shall we? I preloaded a couple images in here. So again, go to visoid.com, check that out. Again, not affiliated, not a sponsor. If you work for Visoid, feel free to reach out because I do like your product. I think it's pretty cool. It's fun to play around with. So here we go. We'll do a couple live. I popped in a couple images and I took these straight out of my sketchbook. So what I did was, just before recording this video, I took a few images This one right here. Oh, there we go. This one right here. Took a photo of that. That's one. And maybe I'll just do that one right now while we're doing it. So I cleaned it up really quickly in Photoshop, kind of cleared out the background images, lightened it up a little bit, so it's pretty clear. I didn't want any confusing elements. Like if you look at this page, it's covered in stuff, right? I didn't want the extra sketches and stuff along the side to kind of confuse that. So just remove those, cleaned it up a little bit, played with the contrast, get rid of the background, easy peasy. All right, what do you do? So you have your images uploaded, not that hard. Yeah, you go to the website here, you log in, you create an account, and then you say upload image. When you go to this image little tab over here, upload image, done. So I've preloaded these so you don't have to watch that. But where do we go? This is the one, and we want to create. So you have to give a prompt, and this part is super impressive. It has already put a prompt in here to get me started, and it's taking it from the image that I uploaded. And it's giving me this: a modern house with a wood cladding located by the Swedish coast and surrounding pine trees. And that's not bad considering that's just a quick sketch that I uploaded. It's not exactly what we're going for, so we'll play with this prompt right now. When I drew this one up, this was a concept for a laneway house in Toronto, so that's what we're going to go with here. So, so this is call it a modern laneway house. We'll say in Toronto, with a mixture of wood cladding and I don't know, what's this? What do we want to do for this? Like the white part, is that stucco? Maybe like a white brick with a mixture of wood cladding and white brick exterior. There are houses and pine trees on either side. And it is summer. What else do we want here? I don't know. Maybe that's enough. We'll use this tool here to improve the prompt. See what it comes up with. In my experience last time, it was pretty impressive. So, modern laneway house in Toronto featuring white brick walls and accents of warm vertical wood cladding. I mean, these lines are horizontal, but hey, I won't give it too hard of a time. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that. I don't want it to be vertical. I do want it to be horizontal. Horizontal. All right, so I missed that, but that's a pretty minor detail. The structure includes large glass windows and a prominent covered entryway, which is correct. So that's kind of this thing right here. Oops, can't spell. Horizontal. The flat roof incorporates lush green vegetative planting, which it does. I didn't mention that, right? So if you look at this top edge of the roof line, I had sketched basically a green roof. I was imagining basically a rooftop patio surrounded by planters, and that planting is kind of spilling over the edge, and it totally recognized that. How impressive is that? The house is situated on an urban lot, flanked by neighboring houses and tall pine trees under bright, clear sunlight on a warm summer day. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to put in any reference images. We'll just use we just want one image and the newest rendering engine 4.0, and we'll give it a go. While that's working, I'm going to show you a couple other ones here, and we'll probably do one or two more before this finishes up. So here's another one. This is a dirty old sketch of this is basically all I did for this project right here. A really tall, skinny house with a climbing wall on the side. Like a rock climbing wall. I thought that would be kind of a cool one to do. This is one that I'm really interested in. This was this one right here. Move that in. It's a concept for, this was back during like COVID times. I have a friend of mine, he wanted basically a backyard office, like something that's the size of a shed that he could work out of. And that one was going to be kind of sculptural. And already, it's already finished up. I'm going to turn myself off here so you can get a good look at this. How impressive is that? That's incredible. Like I could put this straight up into my portfolio right now. It took it all. The cladding, really nice white brick. It even took the house number. Did it take the same house number? 897. Yeah, it did. It recognized the house number on this one. It got the wood cladding is horizontal. Look at the beautiful vegetation up there on the roof. The fact that this is clearly on a laneway and not a street, I think also is pretty impressive. It's a little funky because these look like the fronts of houses over here. So like the street is kind of this way. So like the orientation between a laneway and a street is maybe a little bit off, but quite frankly, I'm pretty happy with this. Um, that's super impressive. And again, this is the first pass. Like you can tweak this if you want. You can use your credits. So that used 3 out of my 25 free credits. And I don't know exactly how this worked because last time I haven't used this for a few weeks, and it basically I used up all my credits. I used up all 25, and somehow this is reset. So that's why I'm like, I should make this video and use these credits again. Because I don't want them to go to waste. It's such a useful, awesome tool. So that's pretty impressive. Well, let's do another one because what else do we have here? And I can show you these other images that I entered here a minute ago. I showed you this one. So this is that tall, skinny vertical house with a climbing wall. This one could be pretty interesting to do. This is another one that was just a front elevation of like a suburban house with kind of a weird, funky fire escape kind of thing on the side. I don't know. I'm less excited about that one. This was the sort of shed, bunky outdoor office, COVID office concept. This one could be really cool if it gets the sculptural aspect right, because I was imagining this kind of faceted wall where like this doorway is kind of out in front of the rest, and like this wall is slanted, kind of pushing out towards this door, right? So this one I think I'm pretty curious to do. This is one I showed you earlier from my portfolio, and just go back to that. This was a sketch that I have done years ago, just as a concept for a, like, I'm gonna throw my, whoops, I'm gonna cover that up for a second. Just for a concept for a, like a modern kind of barn house. And this is the only sketch I ever did for this. And it's an idea that I'd still like to finish, but this is all I have. So I'm like, this is kind of a cool way to flesh out your portfolio, especially if you're a student. You have these, if you have a project and a tight deadline, you have a couple quick sketches, like you can pump out a really impressive presentation image. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? But it's going to be way better than this drawing that I did. So we'll just go back to the site here. So that's one that I think we'll do. And here's another one that I'm curious about. I put this one in. This is another rendering. I rendered this. This is a project, again, from a couple years ago. It was kind of an interior renovation of this house in Hamilton. But we did a lot of work to the outside to really clean it up. And if I had shown you a before image, it looked like a squatter's house. And this was kind of we completely changed the concept of the back of the house and their backyard. So this was taken straight out of Rhino. And you can just tell it's a very basic rendering. So I'm curious to see how this one looks. But let's do another one. So which one should we do? Maybe I'll do this one. So let's just do it. Go back to create. And again, it has already started me with a prompt. A modern laneway house in Toronto. Wait, no, sorry. This is not the one I'm looking for. This is the old prompt. Oh, so it hasn't updated the prompt. Interesting. So I'll just delete that. Modern house with wood cladding, screen, pine trees. No, so this is not. Okay, it hasn't prompted this one, but that's fine. We don't need it. Because we can use the. Here we go. I just got to hit generate prompt and it's going to do it for me. I would call this like a modern barn house. Traditional barn featuring blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it thinks this is an actual barn. Which, honestly, fair enough. It kind of is a barn, right? The fact that it recognizes that is so impressive. But I do want to update this. So I'm just going to start from scratch here. I'm going to call this a modern barn house. Modern barn style house. With gambrel roof. I like that. Keep that. Gambrel roof and weather vane. Featuring, I'd call it vertical wood. I think I would do wood, vertical wood cladding, Should we give it a color? Do natural. Oops. Vertical natural wood cladding. Building includes a large main door, horizontal windows on the lower level, weather vane on the rooftop. See, it already captured the weather vane. Why didn't you have to add that? Structure is set in a rural landscape. Let's call it a rural Ontario landscape because that's what I was imagining when I did this. Lush green grass, mature trees, illuminated by bright sunlight on a clear sky. So I'll just cut out that beginning part that I sort of repeated. And this part right here. Take that out. Give it a quick cleanup, see what it does to improve it. Modern barn-style house with a gambrel roof and vertical natural wood cladding. Structure features a prominent wood main door. A prominent large main door and small horizontal windows on the lower level. I wouldn't call them small. Pretty big. And say 3 horizontal windows on the lower level and a weather vane mounted on the rooftop. Building is set in a rural Ontario landscape surrounded by lush green grass, mature trees, illuminated by bright sunlight under a clear sky. All right, let's do it. Good enough. This will be better than anything else that I have for this project because I literally just have this one image. We'll let that one work away. And again, what are the other ones that we should look at here? I think this one would be cool. We'll do this little shed. I think that one would be pretty interesting. What were the others? I also have this one. This is a little a project I'm working on right now for a little triangular house. Oh, and this thing's already done. Pretty impressive. Again, I'm pretty happy with that. It's not totally what I was going for. It definitely has played with the form a little bit. This was a little more squat. I would say like it's not super tall. It's a little more sort of traditional. This is still pretty traditional. This door though, that's off. That is not a front door of a house. But all things considered, if you tweak that 1 or 2 times, or if you take this and then go into Photoshop, kind of like how I did with some of these, like if there's something you're not happy with, like this one, this one here, if you're not happy with, it added a light there, the fact that they were not lined up, it added this one right here that was just a little bit lower. That really bugged me. I didn't want that. You just give it a quick Photoshop job. It's so much faster. So if you really wanted to tweak this, I mean, you could Photoshop a new door in there, dress it up a little bit. I don't know about the wood roof. I would probably change that to metal. And you can do this stuff in this program. So you can go to edit. I haven't done this before, but you can change certain aspects. Maybe I'll come back to this one and play with the roof, and I'll try and swap out the roof for like a corrugated steel, something like that. But in the meantime, let's do another one. Because I got a handful in here and I still have a ton of credits to use. So I want to try this one. So this one will be interesting to see if it gets the 3D aspect from this front facade that I'm looking for. Because this facade is not intended to be flat. And like if you could picture this looking, in perspective, looking in plan, looking straight down. Like if this is the front of the building and it's going back this way, and this is your front door, the front door should sort of be out here, and it's supposed to be coming out like this, right? So we'll see if it captures that. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll take this out. We'll get it to generate our prompt again. See what it comes up with. Smaller little project, kind of interesting. A small modern asymmetrical cabin featuring pitched shed roofing, shiplap wood siding, not bad. Facade includes a full height glass door and rectangular window. Yep. Structure is set in a surrounding of a lush green grass, mature trees, under bright sunlight and clear sky. I'm happy with that. This is technically in a backyard. But we can play with that a little bit. A small, modern, asymmetrical, I'm going to call it a shed. Features, features pitched shed roofing and gonna call it angular wood siding. Shiplaps, maybe angular shiplap. Let's keep that in there. Angular shiplap wood siding. The facade includes a full height glass door, rectangular window. Yes. Lush green grass, mature trees. Sure. Yeah, okay. Do I want to give a color or anything to the wood? Maybe I'll give it like painted. Maybe we'll do stained. Pitched angular shiplap. So we call it angular shiplap wood siding stained with a stained finish, maybe with a stained gray. I don't want to be too flashy. A stained gray finish. Facade full asymmetrical shed. So that's where I'm a little nervous. It's not going to capture the 3D aspect of this. Asymmetrical shed, pitched roof, an angular ship, full height glass door. That is, how do I want to say this? Facade includes a full height glass door. The sort of, I want to call it like a 3D. It's like a 3D sculptural. Sculptural, the 3D sculptural. I don't know. I feel like this might struggle, but I'm not totally sure what to call it. The 3D sculptural facade includes a full height glass door. I'm gonna call it angular. The angular 3D sculptural facade. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. We'll give that a shot and see if we can improve this. Maybe it'll figure this out. The angular 3D sculptural facade. Blah blah blah. Honestly, good enough. Let's give it a shot. We still got some credits. So this one will be cool, and this one might, I don't know, it might struggle with this. We'll see. I'm curious. This one might be more of a challenge for the program compared to some others, but and then we'll finish up with a couple easier ones, and then maybe we'll go back and try and fix that that steel roof on that other one. But I don't know, what you call that. It's like a, I don't know. It's like an angular facade. Sure. Anyway, it's coming up with something. What's it got? Not quite what I was going for, but it captured this. This is perfect. The rest is a little off. It did a good job with the geometry in that it's like it knows like this is an overhang and it knows to shade this. It's kind of cool, but it's definitely not what I was totally going for. Like I wanted this door to be sticking out, but it captured, impressively enough, it captured the direction of the wood siding, right? Because this is horizontal, this is angled, this is a different angle, and it matches what I drew, which is, doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. That's pretty impressive. But it's a little bit off. It probably thought this is shaded, right? Because that's just a little darker. Not perfect, but you can see how like it's pretty good. And these are just from really basic sketches. Like if this was a better image or a 3D model, and maybe we'll try that next, right? We'll go in here. Like this is much more realistic. This gives it something way more realistic to work from. The fact that it can take these really loose sketches, like it took this and it figured out the scale. It knew that this was the charging station, and it recognized the scale and put the cars in at the proper height, and it like that's impressive. I think that the scale aspect is pretty crazy. So, but let's try this one. So we'll take this out. This is the back of a house in Hamilton. We'll see what it comes up with on its own. Traditional suburban house structure with a light stucco walls. I'm gonna call it black brick because that's actually what they wanted. Pitched roof. Facade features a large covered porch. A large covered wood porch. I'm going to call it natural wood too, actually. Natural wood porch and second story balcony, correct. White vertical railings, I'm just going to call that, I want that to all match. I'm going to call that natural wood. Natural wood railings. Prominent chimney stack, blah, blah, blah. Don't really care about that. Structure sits on a foundation surrounded by lush green grass. Suburban house structure. So I'm going to call this the rear of a house. Traditional suburban rear facade. Traditional suburban house rear facade. The rear facade of a traditional suburban house structure. Blah, 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 blah. Every time I hit the letter D, it comes up with the drawing tool. Okay, so that's not bad. Let's see if it improves a tiny bit here. The rear facade of a traditional suburban house structure is clad in black brick and features a pitched roof. The ground level includes a large covered natural wood porch accessible by steps. Yep. While the second story has substantial balcony and dormer balcony, all detailed natural wood railings, blah, 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 glass doors, chimney, sure, structure. And you know what? This house had kids. Kids are playing in the backyard while the parents barbecue. Let's see what it comes up with. We'll throw some people in there. Maybe I haven't really dealt with people in these before. See what I can do. That was a fun project, but really improved this house. But we'll see how this turns out. I'll make another video about this one because I really want to show you the before image. It was quite different. So, and then maybe we'll go back to that barn and I'll wrap this up here. And it's already done. It's pretty incredible how fast this is too. Not bad. It did take the barbecue and put it right in front of the steps. Technically, this is kind of a landing that goes down to a basement entrance. That's what that is right there, but I didn't specify that. And man, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I mean, that's better than any rendering that I showed them back in the day. This is pretty impressive stuff. Okay, let's go back to this barn house. We'll do one last one here to finish this off. Where was it? This one. Can we edit this? Try the edit feature. I want to change the roof. Oh, I can only change the facade. Okay, I can change the weather, the season, the time of day, facade material. Interesting. I want to change the roof. Okay, maybe I'll just try this one again from scratch. I'll go back here to the barn, go back to create, generate the prompt once again, see if it comes up with something pretty similar. American barn style house, vertical, natural plank siding, and a corrugated steel roof. Structure features large wooden sliding doors in the front facade. That's not correct. But you can see how it gets a little confused. Like this is just, there's no detail for that front door. It's just a kind of a black box. It's like, barn's got sliding doors. So I can totally understand how it came up with that. But let's change that. The structure includes an inset, a little inset alcove for the large glass front door on the front facade and small rectangular windows in the eaves. Sure. Weather vane. Barn is situated in a rural setting. Rural, again, we'll call it Ontario again. Lush green trees. Let's call it this more of, yeah, what was the last one? What was the setting? Is it, you know what, that's realistic. I was going to say rolling hills and more of a prairie look, but no, I think that's correct. Capitalize that so it knows it's a place surrounded by large green grass. Large green grass? Interesting. Lush green. Whoops, I can't read. And mature trees illuminated by bright sunlight on a clear day. Bright sunlight on clear day at dusk. Let's make it moody. Let's try that. Drum roll, please. So you can see how this is a super powerful tool. Like, again, you just take a sketch. Like this sketch, when I did this, it probably took me like a minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Like, not very long. And then you scan it or you take a photo, you clean it up a little bit, you toss it in here. How much better is that? It's got the roof material right. The front door actually looks like a front door. This one could legit be a house. And it actually did change the geometry a little bit. I think like this one feels a little, the roof's certainly steeper than what I was going for, which it's still got that barn look, but it's not quite what I had sketched. And this one's just, it's got that slightly more squat feeling. And this is it. It still looks a little bit like a rendering. Like you'd probably have a walkway or driveway. You'd probably have some little buildings or something in the background. But man, that's not bad. It's pretty crazy, these AI tools. So, put these in your workflow. If you're a student, if you're an architect, man, these things can be incredibly powerful. If you want to quickly sketch something and send it to a client, you can say, hey, I spent a lot of time on these concepts. Like, meanwhile, you could pump out some pretty incredible images in like 15 minutes if you really want to. So, really just wanted to share that with you guys. This is the best one that I found. There's a lot of tools out there. I tried quite a few, and this is the one that I like the best, and you can totally see why. It's pretty impressive. Like, I might throw a couple of these back into my portfolio. I still have some credits left here somehow. I don't know how I refresh these credits. I'll have to check back in a couple weeks, and maybe it tops it up every week or two or something. So love that. But anyway, we should wrap it up here. This has been going on for long enough, but fun tool. Check it out. Go to visoid.com. Again, I'll link down to that below. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're into architectural content, that's all I'm going to be doing. As you can see, that's what I'm into. It's what I enjoy doing. If you're into that, give a subscribe. I'm going to do lots of these architecture videos as we get into 2026. And maybe we'll try some more AI tools. So thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. We'll end it there. Bye for now.